tucked away between the foothills of Nagrand and Zanger Marsh in the Outland lies a small orphanage that is pretty easy to miss if you aren't exactly looking for it. In fact, back in the Burning Crusade expansion, you could only access this area after you've obtained a flying mount. The spot itself is very remote and secluded, so even if you did have a flying mount, chances are you still could have missed it. But what is this area? At first observation, it appears you've come across a daycare run by a nice troll named Challe. Chal's home for little Tykes. Upon speaking with Chal, she even tells you to be quiet because the babies are sleeping. You take a look around, and sure enough, there's a couple of children running around and playing, and lots of babies too. Orcs, tauren, trolls, the first known night elf baby ever seen in the game too. She's got a large sandbox outside, a small hut, intricately decorated with a giant scary bear in an attack pose? Wait a minute. You begin to take a closer look around. Why is there a cluster of rockets outside in the sandbox? That's definitely not safe for anyone, let alone children. And what's with that massive skeleton in the sandbox too? Why does that child named Jara look like he's hiding in it? Oh, okay, that's sweet. Here's a doghouse. I'm sure the kids love playing with the dog. Or what's left of the dog. Okay, that's a little unsettling. What's this giant carousel thing just outside? It's got tauren babies suspended from it, and they're floating awfully close to that boiling hot cauldron. What is going on here? Let's look around more to see if we could find anything else out. What's behind the house? Okay, just a few random cages. But look, there's nothing in them. See, this first one here is empty. The second little one in the middle is also empty. But, wait. Is that some kind of skeletal remains in the last cage? Those bones do look smaller than that of an adult. There's no way. Maybe I should get out of here. Unfortunately, during the Burning Crusade expansion, that was all of the information we could gather about Chal. It wasn't until 7 years later, in Warlords of Draenor, where we learned more about the horrors of Chal and her so-called daycare center. In the Nagrand timeline, you will receive a quest from Calandrios, Fury of the Air, to speak with Garrock, a nearby orc quest giver. Calandrios says, "Since the beginning, a shaman has been called to serve the Throne of Elements as its keeper. It is a lifelong calling, and a new keeper is only called after the last one has passed on. Garrock has been a loyal keeper for many years, cleansing the elemental plateau during countless cycles of rebirth. Our keeper is dying, and soon another will be called in his place. When he passes, he should not be alone. Go to him. Ease his pain." You find Garrock close by, on the eastern side of the Throne of Elements. "Calandrios sent you to me. I am honored. The Furies are wise. They know the burdens of my heart. You may not know, but you have been sent to grant a last request to a dying shaman. For this, I am grateful." He then sends you on your first task. "Many years ago, I had a life mate, Dahaka. We were only bound a short time before she was taken from me. I have lived long, but I have never known greater pain than that day. I was young and my grief was great. The earth quaked beneath my rage. I laid her to rest upon this cliff. It is here where I too will rest. But first, a favor. A rare bloom grows in a cave within the fiery, molten earth of the plateau. It was her favorite. I would lay the flower upon her grave one last time before I die." The Ember Blossom isn't too far away in the elemental plateau. Once you retrieve it, return back to Garrock. "This is a fine Ember Blossom that you have brought me. I know the danger you faced to retrieve it, and I thank you." He gently places the Ember Blossom in front of Dahaka's gravestone. You speak to Garrock again. "In a cave not far from here, there lives an old woman named Chal. I knew Chal many years ago when I was young. Though as I have become old and gray, she has kept her youth and beauty. Chal was jealous of my love for Dahaka, and I have long suspected that Chal had a part in her death. However, without evidence, I could not bring justice to her. Meet with Chal and tell her that I am dying. Tell her that I wish to know the truth of Dahaka's fate before I leave this world." Head on over to Chal's cave in Nagrand. The first thing you notice is that Chal appears to now be a female orc. You confront her. "I don't see many visitors all the way out here. it is so very nice to have a guest. Will you be staying for dinner? You question her about Dahaka. So that poor Garrock is dying and wishes to know the truth. I remember Dahaka. She was as you see me now. Until I drained the life from her wretched body. Before your eyes, Chal transforms her appearance into another female orc, assuming it is how Dahaka looked. You engage in combat with Chal, and as she gets close to death, she transforms once again into the troll that we saw her as in Burning Crusade. But once she does finally die, she then reverts back to the original orc form we saw her upon entering the cave. So what is Chal's true form? That question still remains unanswered. Return to Garrock to report your findings. Chal, that iniquitous wretch. If only I had proof of her treachery long ago, I would have ripped the villainous heart from her chest and crushed it beneath my foot. You have brought me the truth as I asked. For that, you have my thanks. You have completed one of Garrock's final tasks, but before he can finally lay to rest, there's one more thing that's still on your mind. When you were fighting with Chal, she shouted, "I will devour you." Pair that up with her initially asking if you were staying for dinner, and the unusual kitchen utensils she has in her cave. Could she be consuming her victims to absorb them and remain young? One theory is that Chal's daycare center is actually a much darker place, where she either breeds or kidnaps babies, then consumes their life force for her own selfish purposes. A dark, horrific cannibal, tucked away in her hidden hut in the mountains of Nagrand. Well, thank you so much for checking out this video on Chal and her creepy little orphanage or daycare center, whatever you want to call it. I thought this was a cool little Easter egg in Burning Crusade, and I'm glad that it took them 7 years, but they did finally resolve her storyline and give us a little bit more answers. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. Were there any other tidbits about Chal that I missed that I could have included in the story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you do enjoy this content and would like to see more. As always, I want to give a shout out to my patrons who support me and enable me to create content that I'm super passionate about on a daily basis. If you'd like to join the Patreon gang, you can head on over to patreon.com/warcraftbrew. Don't forget to check out the playlist of other videos that I've created this month so far in October as part of a spooky Warcraft Halloween series. Feel free to check out all of my socials, also linked in the description of this video, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.